All right, Vicente Júnior and Gabriel Silva. It was 4.5 years ago, I believe, that the pandemic ended and things started to finally open up again. And thank God, coincidentally, I thought I was going to be training at a different gym when I came from Guam back in 2020, a local gym. I'm sure it would have been fine, but I found a black belt of yours named Dan Heath online, and we started chatting. And he opened up his gym in June of 2021. And I went to that first open mat, and I see this name on the wall, Vicente Jr., and this cool logo in the background. And started training with him, and it just felt like home. And he's become one of my best friends. And not long after that, both of you come down, and I don't remember what time it was. Gabriel, you must have been 11 years old at the time, but you guys obviously did multiple seminars with us, and I've gotten to train and learn from you guys and get my butt kicked by both of you for 4.5 years. But I remember one of those first times when you were 11 years old, Gabriel, and VJ was telling us, and whenever VJ talks, I do my best to listen. And he was telling us, when you roll with Gabriel, don't use your strength. Try to go technique for technique and see how you do. Now, it was funny watching some of my teammates not listen to that, because when they try, you're in trouble. And so when I rolled with you, I did my best to do exactly that. And at 11 years old, and I was a purple belt at that time, and I was obsessed with jiu-jitsu. All I did throughout the pandemic was study jiu-jitsu, train as hard as I could. And I've been training a little bit since then, and I was pretty decent. When I went technique for technique with you at 11 years old, I was like, oh my goodness, is this kid going to be a problem? He's a problem already. Since then, I think in 2023, you were #1 in the world in the gi for your weight class. And then in 2025, last year, you're #1 in the world for no gi, and just one of the best competitors, regardless of weight class, for your age every year. You're now 15 years old. You just got your blue belt because you turned 16 later this year and are coming up on your first big tournament of the year. You've dominated most of the major tournaments throughout the world for your weight and your age since you've been competing, and you've been on the mat since you were 2. And then there's your father, Vicente Jr. I could read your BJJ Heroes page, but that would probably take up most of the podcast if I had to talk about the competitions that you've won. But obviously, world champion, have dominated anything that has IBBJJF in it. And 5th degree black belt under Master Ricardo De La Hiva, and one of the most sought out coaches and professors in the world. And it's truly a pleasure to get to talk to you guys tonight, because I get to ask you guys questions when I'm with you, but I don't feel like I'm with you enough. So to get to talk to you guys tonight, it's an honor.
Yeah, no, thank you, Kai, for having us. It's a pleasure, like, be able to spend that time with you. And obviously, I feel the same way. Like, every time I go down to Danny's gym, like, to train, and I had the opportunity to pick your brain and listen. Like, sometimes you share some stuff with me and Gabriel that sometimes I don't even see that from that perspective, and it's really cool to see how uh, some people see us and our relationship. Yeah, that's yeah. Thank you for having us, Gabe.
Yeah, thank you for having us. I'm definitely excited to talk to you tonight and listen to what he has to say too. It's always great listen to his stories and like everything, and I'm just excited to share some of my stuff. So thank you for having us.
Yeah, every time I train with you guys, I try to plan twice the amount of time that the class is, because talking to you before and after is just as fun and just as fulfilling as learning from you on the mats. I, Before I came to Southern Maryland, I I knew of some father-son duos in jiu-jitsu, but most of them had the last name Gracie. And you guys, without question, are already have made a lot of noise throughout the jiu-jitsu world and are continuing to do that, both from a competitive standpoint and a coaching standpoint. Gabriel, you've been coaching now for many years and are running the kids program. And everyone I talk to, whether they're your training partners of all sizes and belt colors, as well as your students, just say the best things about you. I'm curious, as a competitor, first and foremost, but also a coach, what's that been like in your development as you train to compete, but also switch roles or maybe maintain the role, because everyone approaches it differently, as a coach as well?
Yeah, I'd say definitely as a coach, like I just want all the kids that I teach and like help train to have the same experience that I did, enjoying jujitsu growing up. I started doing jujitsu because of him. More well, not because he wanted me to. He'll probably tell you later he didn't want me to at all. I wanted to because of him. So then I did, and I stayed in it because of all the friends I made. And then just growing up, and then now being able to teach, I want just all the kids that train to have like that fun experience and being able to make great relationships with new people that they won't always see at school, and then also having that like competitive and that self-defense aspect, knowing how to defend themselves properly, how to get some life lessons that you only will learn on the mats or like can learn very quickly on the mats rather than other places. So that's just been one of the main things for me. So yeah.
Beautiful. And to get into it for your own reasons, inspired by your father, even though it was being encouraged by him or pushed by him, which he talked to me quite a bit about 4 years ago, even that he had no expectations for you, that you just seemed to love it, and for you wanting to transcend that experience to others already at the really old age of 15 years old, already thinking about how can I transcend my own experience and make other people's better. That's just beautiful. I'm interested, VJ. You've told me a lot about it, but what were your reservations or concerns on not wanting to push Gabriel into jiu-jitsu?
So yeah, I think because like I had like front row experience on how hard it is for um to be like we like to say professional athlete in jiu-jitsu, but it's not a such a thing professional athlete in jiu-jitsu because it's not like a paid sport and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Just to try to be the best you can be in jiu-jitsu to win worlds, pans, like local tournaments, doesn't matter. I've been there first row. I know exactly what it takes, and I was just so excited to be father and to have someone like you share experience with me that I was like, I don't want to this for him, and I think also being refereeing a lot of tournaments and see watch also front row how parents lose their mind coaching their kids and go above and beyond to giving them excuses for how they lose or why, and always try to make up for that defeat, and sometimes seeing like other kids like trying like intentionally hurt each other in a tournament and their parents okay about it. I think that was one of the main reasons I did not want him like to train and be a competitor. But then my wife came in and like, no, I think he needs to do because of school, etc. And I was like, okay, but I was like, I literally tried to bribe him like several times to don't go to the gym. I was like, hey, ice cream, hey, why don't you stay home like playing video games? I was like, I think I like I was saying another day in a class, um, I I I think I didn't pay attention. I liked reverse psychology. I didn't notice I was doing reverse psychology on him and worked. And I was like, dang it. But I think that was the biggest reason. Like I didn't want that interfere the relationship at home, which is like we I think we only talk about jiu-jitsu at home when like right now near tournaments, big tournaments, because we're talking about weighing, uh how you feel about the trip and start like stuff like that. But usually at home we're like watch games together, we eat ice cream, we watch movies, we do some other stuff. Like we try not to, it's not that we try not to like, it's jiu-jitsu is our life. That's how I met his mother, that's how I ended up here, right? Like so we like sometimes like we try to just kind of like don't bring that home. It's just like relaxing time. That's pretty much to me that's how works, you know, how worked.
Yeah, I have some questions related to that probably later on for maintaining a healthy home life and things outside of the mats. But talking about your history, VJ, and kind of your understanding of what it takes to be a world champion, to be, I, while I understand what you're saying with professional athlete, that it's not going to pay a salary in most regards unless you are running a gym and doing other things on the side outside of just competing in tournaments, because the payouts are not that large, even if you're doing it full time. It is starting to grow, and maybe that'll change over the years, but it's hard to say. I mean, you're 48 years old now, and you've been doing martial arts of some kind since you were young, because you started off in judo for many years, correct? I'm curious
Yeah,
as
yeah.
to,
I started was like between 13, 14 years old.
so you did judo, and what in your experience with judo, I'm not recalling what led you to jujitsu and then leaning into that more.
So yeah, first of all, like regards to titles, right? Like I did one words at black belt, no gi master, and at a dual black belt and a gi, I placed third in 2003. So technically world champion, like I won words on Ogi at the master division. So just to make this clear, because I know sometimes people get a little upset about it. But then I won pins, gi, 8 times, 9 times, I guess, like a master division, then American Nationals, gi, no gi. Like it's too many, but to me, sometimes I talk about it just because people want to know and give you obviously is like your pedigree, right? Like it's kind of like doctors, masters, whatever, but I don't think that's what really defines me in my career. But um yeah, going back to judo, I did judo because of I say that everybody think it's funny, blood sport, right? Like I watched the movie Bloodsport, and I want to be able to do those kicks. I want to do, and I look for a martial arts, but another martial arts. Actually, I tried to do kung fu, and yeah, I know, but and I think I don't talk about that a lot. It's like I grew up like my family. We live in this house. We lived in this house that was just a kitchen, living room, and one bedroom. And my parents obviously would take the bedroom, and I will always sleep either on the couch or on the floor. Will depend the mood of my brother, right? So we were like pretty poor family, and my dad was addict on um um what's it called, like a kung fu movie. Like he was like a big Bruce Lee fan, so he will watch until later night. So I grow up, I have to be on a living room because he was watching TV, and I will watch all those like Iron Fist, like Dragon, whatever. Like uh, probably I have watched all Bruce Lee movies and Wild West. He was like obsessed with the Wild West, like those songs, like So then when I watched Bloodsport, I was like already on my older, but like when I was 13, 14, I was like, man, I want to do this. Then I didn't find a gym, and my brother and I were walking in a downtown. Then I saw this gym that has judo, and at that point, I had a friend that he was a judoka. He used to train judo, and he will beat the crap out of us at the school. And I was like, oh, let me try to do this. Then when I walking in, the guy like, oh yeah, you can be part of this team, you can do this, blah blah blah. So the guy sold me very well, and I ended up doing judo. I did judo for um like good 5 years, very competitive. I actually was pretty good at it, but I I didn't find out till 6 years ago when I started teaching. Seriously, like teaching the kids. This is another story. I started teaching the kids, and then I really find out I was like, oh, I actually was good in judo, but I didn't realize. And I can explain if you want to know later. You ask me, I will tell you why. But just to keep going, then later on, when I was 16, I met this guy. His daddy was in the Air Force in Brazil, and it was transferred to my hometown. So he was a blue belt, jiu-jitsu blue belt, and nobody was teaching jiu-jitsu in my hometown. So when he got there, he asked, he's like, "Hey, I'm do this, blah blah, but I don't know where's the gyms here." Then the guy's like, then my counting, it was kind of like, let me put this way, it was like very small town, so no everybody knew everybody, and if you do anything that was different or weird, everybody knew. Then people like, oh, we had this guy, he trains something because he's always passed with this bunch of clothes under his arm, like going to his house. I think it's the same thing. So the guy knocked on my door and we he introduced himself. Then I was like, yeah, I don't know what jiu-jitsu is, but yeah, I would take you to my gym. Then I saw this guy just like choking an arm bar, all the black belts at the gym, and I was like, "Ah, that's cool. I want to train this." So then he just started teaching me at his house, and right on like month or two later, we had a bunch of kids from a neighborhood training. Then then it's always story now. Like then I end up, start training seriously with other instructors. Then later on, I met Master De La Riva at Rio, going to Rio to compete. And that's when I finally find my mentor, because until that, I was like so focused on compete and train, and I was just looking for training partners. But then the moment I met like Master De La Riva, I finally find, okay, this is my mentor. So that's sorry. Think I talked
No,
too much.
I you never do, and I love origin stories, and it's always interesting too, like, jujitsu is still relatively young in the grand scheme of things when you look at martial arts,
Yeah,
throughout
super young.
history. So looking at the lineage of kind of mentors, if you will, and of course, it typically starts with Helio Gracie and Carlson Gracie and the Gracie family. But you talk about having your mentor be Master De La Riva, and then the branches that have come off of you and all the black belts that you have trained and the different gyms that are underneath of you and just those branches that come from these high levels. Like you have a very direct path to one of the biggest names. I mean, there's a position named after him for those that are not familiar, and just wildly one of the best Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners of all time. And now you're right up there with it. And then Gabriel, you talk about one of the most important branches of that tree. Not only are you part of the lineage, you're part of the family tree underneath VJ. And again, at 15 years old, you've already had overwhelming success, both in the gi and no gi. You finished last year, again, once again, #1 in your weight class, and I believe #3 overall. And I mean, this is true for any man or woman, no matter their age. When you have success, particularly in a domain that's popular like jujitsu is right now, that comes with added pressure, expectations, and you're getting ready to travel to Portugal next week for your first big term of the year, Europeans. How do you obviously have a great mentor above you, but when it comes to your mindset and managing some of that pressure, what's your take on kind of staying calm and focusing on what matter? How do you manage that right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a big learning thing over the years. It's taken me a while to just be able to go to tournaments and feel calm, especially. Usually, I'd like, especially even like recently, like the past couple of 2, 3 years, I'd still go to tournaments and I'd feel like pretty nervous. I have like the butterflies in your stomach, and sometimes I get in my head too much, and it's just been like I'd have to like learn different ways to figure out how I can calm myself down, how I can feel, okay, yeah, it's just another match, it's just another tournament. Just go out there, you know what you're gonna do. Overall, just outside of the tournaments, to me, I just some people try to put pressure on me and be like, "Oh, you have to win." Sometimes I go to school and be like, "Why didn't you win your last tournament? Like, when you're gonna win your next tournament?" And to me, it's like it's not a big deal. It's like I'm working hard, in my opinion. In most cases, to me, I believe it's like, okay, yeah, like I'll train more and I'll go to the next tournament. Like it's no big deal. And since a young age, when I started competing, I didn't win a single tournament for 5, 6 years. It took me from 2017, my first tournament, all the way until 2021 to win a local one, and 2022 to win my first IBJJF. So that's a long time on its own. And from a young age, you I was just motivated to keep going, keep fighting, and work as hard as I can to win the next tournament. And then I didn't. And then I was working more, and then I didn't. And I kept going and going and going. And eventually I did. And then now I've been winning way more tournaments than I've lost them. And anytime I do lose them, though, it's a big learning experience too. just to help up, just to humble a little bit. It's like, yeah, it's gonna happen. So it just reminds you to,
Someone out there has
yeah,
your number, right?
yeah,
Always.
You are wise beyond your years, Gabe. I mean, you talk about being on the path and having a kind of perspective that, I mean, even aside from competition, just life in general. You look at you like 15 years old, like, oh, of course he's going to be a world champion. Look at his dad, and he has all these great training partners around him and this access. Like, no, you just exemplified. You've put in the necessary amount of time. You've taken the L's that you need in order to grow. And like you said, our losses are our biggest opportunities for lessons, particularly when we're still learning. If you think you're just
yeah.
going to be naturally talented and good and not experience those setbacks, you're probably going to quit. I'm curious in those early years, those first 5 years when you weren't winning the tournaments, what kept you coming back?
Honestly, I don't know. But it was definitely difficult times throughout the years going to different tournament, not winning. I I think the most important thing is just the feeling of wanting to win and having growing up, having a lot of different kids in the team going to tournaments, being like most friends. So I wanted to go with them in the beginning. Then eventually I was like, okay, now I definitely want to focus on winning whatever tournaments I can. And then just that feeling of wanting to win. And then when I did win, I enjoyed it, and just in general, to me, I enjoy jujitsu. I enjoy the opportunities, the relationships, the sport itself. You know, it's definitely a humbling sport. One day you might be the best on the mat. The next day, every single role might have submitted you 5 times. You know, it's very interesting place to be, and yeah. So to me, it's definitely just that love for the sport, and then wanting to win. And when I did win, just wanting to make a name for myself in a way and being able to kind of and now being able to travel the world too and experience all these different places, that too has helped me want to stay in it, and being able to come back and share the stories and brag that I've been to multiple different countries and different people. So yeah.
And your dad and I talk about it often when we get together, like, and how cool you get to do it with your dad too. So not only out there doing what you love in the competitions, but getting to see the world with your father. I mean, just
Yeah.
stacking these experiences, both on the mats and outside of it, to experience the world and everything else that comes with the training outside of the training when you are a competitor. It's just beautiful. And I'm curious, you mentioned something earlier. Again, end of the year number one, but you still get nervous. You still have butterflies before every
Mhm.
competition, which who wouldn't? Because we are always going to stress or be concerned about things that we care about. But you mentioned that you kind of reorient, you reframe. It's a competition. I'm here to get better. I'm here to test myself. So you have some psychological strategies. Do you do anything physical to help calm your nerves?
Usually like I'm on like match day. I try to wake up at a good time, have a good meal if I can. Sometimes I've been too close in weight that it's like I have to just drink 2 sips of water, maybe a bite of something and then go to the tournament. That happened in my last one actually. But yeah, I mean, usually I like to listen to some music, just that kind of keeps my mind off the tournament. I usually try not to think of the tournament too much. To me, that kind of gets me too worried about it. If I think about it, I get all worried about it. If I think about who I fight, I get all worried about it. But if I can kind of stay off that and be it like whenever we go to different places, sometimes too, it's like okay, let's go walk around. So then I'm just enjoying the place and not thinking about the tournament until the day comes. And then usually when I'm there, I just see the venue, see the mat, know where I'm gonna be. If I don't go for the though, if I don't go there for the opening, then I can hear the venue, see like just observe, and then just before warm up, get loose, stretch, whatever, and then showtime. So
Good man. Focus on what you can control. Ruminating on
yeah.
things that are coming in the future. If it's not productive for you, table it. Enjoy the moment because it's coming. You've been there before. And no matter what happens, you've experienced the losses. You know, that's great data to get better. But those
Hmm.
are happening fewer and fewer because you're putting in the time and you keep getting better because you keep taking on those stress tests that are competition. When you hear Gabriel talk, VJ, about mindset and how he approaches tournaments, I think of like most people have watched the documentary The Last Dance, and if they weren't already basketball fans, they got to understand Michael Jordan's mindset. And there's many other documentaries, many other outstanding athletes out there that talk about kind of a competitor's mindset, a killer instinct, and how you approach every aspect of the craft professionally. And you, without question, Dan and I talk about it ever since I've met you. You are up there with everyone I've ever met that I would throw into that category, if not the top of it, of somebody that truly has a competitor's mindset. When did you start developing that? How did you hone that? And kind of what's your take on mindset?
Great question, Kyle. So I think I actually I watched a video recently, someone talking about difference like kind of like in countries, and why some countries produce more like uh successful athletes versus other countries. And I think to me it was kind of like surviving, kind of like in a way it was my way to to be the best, because um my family didn't have like it wasn't a wealthy family, right? Like I was I was in the south of Brazil, which my parents was from the north. I was born and raised at south, but usually when you move, you migrate from north Brazil to south, kind of like you're very discriminated um inside your own country. So when I moved back, my parents moved back and to Northeast. So I think the martial arts was my way to kind of like be something, right? Uh, and to me, it was always a competition, always trying to prove I could do better. I don't know. I just kind of like when I talking about competition and tournaments, I got chills. I like it. I got, like Gabriel say, I got nervous too when I see who I'm going to compete against. Guys that that I know they're tough, but I'm super excited. I remember one situation at judo. I was in a mat and I saw this guy walking in to train, and as soon as he walked in a mat, everybody started looking and started saying his names like, oh man, this guy, this guy, this guy. And I was like kind of like confused. I was like, what do you mean? Who's this guy? Then everybody's like was afraid to train with him because he was so good. He was like throw everybody. And my first thought was like, man, I want to one day walk in a mat and everybody feel that way. You know what I mean? It's like that's what I want to be. A cool thing, years later in Brazil, I was doing a seminar, and guess who came to my seminar? This guy. So he came to do a seminar, to do a class with me. He never knew that story, right? But I clearly remember. So I was in this seminar with 200 something people. He's a cop, like a military police in Brazil. He's a coronel right now. And I remember like I stopped the seminar in front like 200, 300 people. I called his name, brought him in the front, and I told you that story. I was like, you are one of the bigger reasons I'm here today. And I told what happened. And he started crying. He's like, he didn't have no idea. But at that day, he motivated me to be the best I could be, because I wanted people kind of like respect and be afraid of me. Right. So that was pretty much how we started. But yeah, my mindset to a tournament, I like. And nowadays, it's like, I uh I think I really want to compete, but I right now I'm not. It's not that I'm afraid. I'm more concerned of because of work, teaching, the gyms and everything, and I don't have a time to train the way I know I need to train. And when you competitor, I saw actually a guy. I was kind of like in the limbo, not understanding my why I don't go. I just go to have fun, it's master division, blah blah blah. You older, and I saw someone talking about it, and I was like, that's exactly what I'm thinking. I don't want to go there to have fun. I want to go there to win, right? So and if I don't train enough, I don't feel like I deserve. To me, train is kind of like it's a whole process. It's kind of like uh it's like a cult. I need to be like to train, to suffer, to kind of like pray every morning It's like if I don't do enough, I don't deserve. And if I don't do enough, like that don't brings me confidence. That's how like, but and if I do that, I know that I'm gonna present myself the best I can. And I like to roll. I have fun. I love it. Like, I don't know how people feel like doing jiu-jitsu, but it's no best feeling than you start rolling with someone and you able to dominate, pass the guard, do the submission, do everything and it's just like it's awesome feeling. So that's how I feel.
And I got to feel that last night when we trained together. So
I'm
you came down
sorry.
talking. No, do not be sorry. It's so humbling, and I love being reminded of the levels of every craft. For all the interests that I have, jujitsu being one of my favorite things in my life. But like you said, it got injured a few years ago with breaking my shoulder, off the mats for a while, continuing to coach, life circumstance with the kids' activities, with the other things that I'm doing. Um, I take competition very seriously. And so that resonated with me when you said that. Like, if I'm going to compete, I want to earn that. And if I get on the mats where it's not the same maybe as like getting kicked or punched in the head, which by the way, growing up, Jean-Claude Van Damme, my hero. I would try to do splits on chairs just like him with all the Bloodsport and all the other movies. Never got there. If I tried that now, I'd rip my
Me
nutsack.
too.
But
Me too.
um,
The classic scene of the chairs.
oh my goodness. I
Yeah.
tried it. The chairs fell out. I fell down, and there's no way I could get there. But I always thought that was cool for some
I
reason.
could get close to the dance. That's it.
But yeah, and competition is fantastic, and when you are starting out, it's just a great way to see where you're at. So when you get to an elite level, which I am not at, and I could probably have a healthier approach, like just go out there, get that data from competition, take some L's so you can see your holes that maybe you're not seeing with your regular training partners. But when I train with individuals like you two, it's so nice to be reminded of the different levels, because what you did, I mean, you kicked my butt, both of you kicked my butt several times, but what you did to me last night, where you're breathing through your nose, just flowing, but flowing through me and isolating my arm, I mean, 3, 4 times, as well as a wrist lock in 5 minutes. And it's just to be able to watch that back, because thankfully Danny took a video of it. It's so cool to see that you get that level. But even then, you're at that level right now as you are casually training when you can, because you're coaching and you're traveling with Gabriel and doing all these other things, because you take yourself very seriously. You're a very happy-go-lucky, a hilarious man around the mats. But when you train, you're serious. But the time that you have to put into training, the time that you need to commit yourself to be able to compete at the highest level, I can only imagine the kind of mindset it takes to be as accomplished as you are repeatedly for the decades that you did it. So it's cool to hear how you talked about that, still having that hunger to compete, but knowing that you have to maybe reorganize some things if you were to approach that.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's like again, like I say, you had an awesome question because that's resonated with the way I was raised, and I think that's why Gabriel see that way, and he loves jujitsu and he likes the process. Just a simple things happen every day that make like it defines who you are. Like I would share with you like yesterday. Yesterday, guy came to install the internet at the new gym, and it's a small place, but it's like Dennis gym right now, right? And he came in and he's like, look the building, like they already saw that the internet there will work. They just need to come send the guy to do the installation, right? Then the guy looks like, oh, where do you want? And I was like, oh, can I be here next to the desk? Then he's like, look. Then he looked to the whole building and didn't have that connector, right? Like the cable. Then he's like, well, everything's on the back, so I had to put everything over the ceiling, and it's gonna take about 1 hour, 2 hours, something like that. And I was like, man, I don't want to be 2 hours here. So while he went there, I kept looking, kept looking. Then I find one hole, then he's like, I was like, hey, I think it's here. Then he's like, oh no, this is for speaker. Then I was like, man, they have the internet here. Is here somewhere. Then I started looking, looking, looking. Then I went to the locker room and I couldn't feel it. It was nothing visible. Then I looked to the lockers and I was like, hmm. So I start moving the lockers, like those big iron lockers. Like I start moving Then I look, I saw a cable, then I call him and said, I called the guy, I said, hey, come here. Then he came, he's like, you again? Then I was like, yeah, look, I think I found the cable. Then he looked at to me and like, he's like, man, and what did he say? He's like, give up is not an option for you, isn't? Then I was like, then it was like the light bulb on my head. I was like, yeah, I guess not. You know what I mean? He's like, yeah, you don't give up. And man, you find it. It's here. Then he found it. It was there on the internet. Something that it was about to be 2 hours. He was done in 30 minutes. You know what I mean? He's like, and I think that was my whole life like this. Like, I mean, not my whole life. It's been my life till now. It's like failure is not an option. You know what I mean? He's like, why? You know what I mean? He's like, why?
Yeah, if you're gonna commit, go all in, and you've shown that as a coach, as a competitor, as a dad, and it's so cool to see. Gabriel,
Thank you.
you mentioned lessons from jujitsu that you can learn very efficiently for life. I couldn't agree with you more. My reason for training back when I was 30 years old was I was going to be a father for the first time. And while my dad was a collegiate wrestler and I played many sports, didn't wrestle coincidentally or have any experience with martial arts, but I was like, hey, even though I've been athletic and have done some things for fun, I would love to learn how to fight. So I found an MMA gym, started doing that. And then of the three kind of basic foundations of MMA with wrestling, striking, and jiu-jitsu was without question my poorest. And so I fell into that because I wanted to get better at my weakest point, and the schedule worked out. Actually, the shirt that I'm wearing says Bihun Jiu-Jitsu. Bihun is Chamorro, which means old man. So the old men, which were really just like 30-year-olds and up, because none of the young guys would get up at 5:30 a.m. 3 times a week to go in before work. And on Saturday mornings where we'd have a beer share after our rolls and training, it was that group that I just started leaning into that full time. But I learned very quickly, though, I went there to get better at defending myself and my family, that, man, all these lessons I'm learning apply to life in so many ways. I'm curious, what kind of lessons have impacted your life the most off the mats that you got in the gym? That's for you, Gabriel.
Okay. Yeah. I gotta think about this because there's a couple, but there's not that hit me right now. I'd say the most important thing to me, and this is something I've spread around to so many different people, is just simply keep going. Like in a jiu-jitsu sense, let's say you have a 5-minute roll, someone passes your guard, you're not gonna sit there and enjoy someone having a tight side control on you. That's not that's not how that goes. You're gonna want to push as much as you can for the rest of the 4 minutes and a half that you have to keep going through the roll in a tournament. That would be crucial points that you lose that you need to get back, and you just need to be able to keep going and have that discipline to keep going, not just give up and sit there. And you just have to put that in. To me, I put that in a lot of different real life scenarios, of course, and just throughout everything. I just know I need to keep going, even if there's like at school, if there's something I don't want to do as an assignment, but I need to do is like, okay, I need to get this done so I can keep the grades up instead I keep traveling. And
Yeah.
but
That's the
yeah,
deal, right?
yeah, and definitely just having like good discipline and having good consistency to keep doing what I'm doing. I've learned if you don't keep up with what you're doing, if you don't have the discipline to get up every day and go train and keep training and keep working hard, you're gonna fall off a little bit. And that's in the same way as school. It's in the same way as just about anything. If you fall off a little, if you take your time off and fall off a little bit, it's big steps that you're behind compared to so many other people. Even just like a week off sometimes, like if it's just a rest or like a vacation, you feel that too. So you need to be able to keep going, and yeah, just learning how to respect too. That a lot of people forget this too. Jiu-jitsu is a martial art, of course. So one of the most important things about any martial art is respect. So in jiu-jitsu, you learn how to respect your higher ranks, which you can see as your elders, your teachers, parents, anyone. and just in general, you respect anyone on the mat if they're the same rank, the lower rank, so you can see that as your peers or see that as your friends. Like for me as a person who teaches the kids, that I give respect to the kids, even if there's one kid that's just a little extra annoying on one day, I still have to tolerate it. They're just kids. I mean, that's one of the few of the things I've learned.
Well, I respect that answer. That was fantastic. And you made a great point. Like a 5-minute roll, time is relative. And in 5 minutes, that can feel like an eternity if the roll's not going well for you. And a year can fly
Especially
by
with
if
him.
you're, yes, I had a long 5 minutes last night. But a year can also fly by if you're living passively and not intentionally and not tackling challenges and leaning into what's hard because you know you need to do it. But your point on like, someone passes your guard, are you just going to give up and throw a hissy fit, complain, and that round's behind you? No, setbacks are inevitable in life, whether that's at school, whether that's at home, whether that's in relationships, and of course on the mats. And those setbacks are going to be opportunities for how do you respond to that? For when challenge comes your way, what are you going to do in response to that? Because it's always going to come in different forms. Even if you're winning tournaments, maybe you have an injury, or maybe you get to the point where you notice things in your wins that you can improve upon. I've learned best from my losses for sure, but I'm really trying to get to the point when I'm in that competition mode and I'm trying to put forward my A game with my training partners, I'm preparing for something, whatever it may be. How do I learn from successes too and look at, okay, fine, how can I get better with that as well? Where was I not clean or what wasn't I doing? But regardless of how clean your game is or how well you're flowing that day, something's coming out of an angle that you're not going to see because you can't control every aspect of life. And man, does the gym teaching that so well. I really like that answer.
Yeah, and definitely what you were saying about learning from wins and losses too. A lot of people think that wins just mean a perfect performance. Like in any sport, a win doesn't mean you dominated for however long. You know, I've had tournaments that I've won. I can think of a couple that I definitely didn't perform the very best I could. There's tournaments where where definitely the person I was fighting could have won that match, but I won it, and thankfully, I had to hear it from him later. I know there was American Nationals 2023, I think it was. And I was really dehydrated during the match and I wasn't fighting well at all. And I was really sloppy. It was 4 minutes because it was the kids, like a kids division. So then I was just moving and moving and I went for a pass and it'd be really sloppy and slow. And the kid would just push me off, but I was still able to get enough advantages. And then I won and I was happy. And then I went off the mat. I went to him to give him a hug. He didn't even give me a hug first. He was like, "What was that?" He didn't even say congrats. He didn't ask for anything. He went straight up. He was like, "What was that?" And I was like, "Give me water. Give me water." He's like, "Oh shoot." Yeah. And then after I got the medal, he's like, "Yeah, congrats." So, I mean, like, there's definitely moments you learn of different mistakes, whether it's just on the mat or the pre-match, I didn't have enough water. I didn't bring the water with me or anything. But yeah, so
And that's funny because he come to ask me about like he came and I was like, "What was that?" Then it's like then he went got the medal. Then I was like, "Hey, congratulations!" Then he looked at the guy. He's like, "Hey, I need to look at this tournament like here, like to sign up." That then I looked and said, "Dude, do you remember like how crap you fought right now? We gotta fix that later. Forget any tournament."
it's it's funny. You talked earlier about some jujitsu parents, either during competitions or God knows it happens in the gym too during training, which we've shared funny stories about that as well. I think they had the show called Stage Moms or whatever about parents of those
Yeah.
stage girls that wear dresses or whatever and do pageants, even though they're 7 years old. I mean, there's every sport you name it. I'm sure there's parents like that. Without question, these parents think that they're showing love to their kid and trying to defend them, but they're just holding them back. They're giving them the wrong perspective on life. And when you have good mentors in your life that are willing to be honest with you because they love you, of course, that feedback from your dad is because he loves you. He
yeah.
knows that there's ways that you could maybe change your performance, change your attitude, even though you're tired and dehydrated, or just think about what you could control a little bit differently next time to work in those constraints. That's love. But I'm sure he wasn't screaming at you during the match or screaming at the refs or trying to help you get an advantage to help you win something that maybe other time. Maybe there's been time and we all make mistakes, but he does that for us in the gym too. You don't want to hear about how great you are. You want to hear about your opportunities from the people that you respect and that are credible, that can actually tell you what they are. And to have a mentor like that is everything. VJ, speaking of mentors, you've had obviously Master De La Hiva is your main mentor, and I'm sure you have tons of lessons from him that I'd be interested in. Some of the ones that have stuck with you, but maybe other mentors, training partners, or lessons that you've taken from some of your mentors throughout your career. You were about to say something too, so please say that as well.
No, no, no. I was just saying, like, in regards to the coaching, like, yeah, I'm not perfect. I made several mistakes, and like, I think the good thing, which you will want answer your question later, pretty much with the same thing. I learn from everybody. Like I listen, Gabriel. Like I don't put myself in a pedestal and just kind of like, hey man, I'm fifth degree. I've been training since I was 13, and yada yada yada. And no, like I have learned from white belts. You know what I mean? I have learned like from I learned a lot from you when we talk at the gym. You know what I mean? Your perspective, the way you see like our relationship, or the way you see you teaching. I'm like, what? I was like, oh wow, I didn't notice that. You know what I mean? This is very very good. But regards to coaching Gabriel and like the parents, uh, I'm not gonna say that I was like those parents. Like, thanks God, I wasn't, and I'd never want to be. But I have like few situations that, thanks God, I can count in one of my hands. Um, that I yell at him, but it was like not during the match. It was just like after. I was like that's like what happened. Like, and I will lose my mind because I see how much he trained or how much he did, and I learned over the years, right? Because you will can't come and it was like, hey, dad. So few ones I can remember. One, it was like Orlando. He shut down. He didn't perform like at all, and I was like, "What happened?" And I started screaming at him when he walked out and mat. It's like, "What happened? You didn't do anything. You didn't move." Blah blah blah. And I noticed that, kind of like shut him down, and I made a promise to him after. I don't even remember if it was the same day or the day after. um my wife came to talk to me. She's like, V, you can't do stuff like that, blah blah blah. And I was like, I listened to her, and I came to him and I said, hey Gabe, like I promise, I will never scream at you again. We're gonna talk about the math later after everybody feel better. And like at that moment we forget, leave everything on the mat, and let's go move on. And then after that, had that tournament that he performed like very sloppy, like he looked like he wasn't there, but he was there. And I was just like, what's going on, man? Like, do this. Then I would tell like like for example, he's one of the students that most understand the rules. And he knows like he had 20 seconds to tie the belt, and he probably took almost a minute to tie his belt on that fight. He was like totally out of it. And I was like, what is going on? It wasn't because he was losing or anything. It was like, what's going on? Like, stay on the mat. And it looked like he wasn't there. But yeah, then we have situations that you will perform poorly at the gym. And one specifically thing that happened. I remember he was doing very well against this train partner, and all said, and that partner like was rolling better than him. And I remember driving back home, and I told him, say, hey dad, for the sake of that conversation, I will name this train partner Kyle, but it wasn't you. All right. So he was all beating Kyle, then Kyle, all of a sudden it was better than him. And then we were driving home. And I remember he was like, I remember because it was shocking to me. Like shocking what he turned back, and shocking that he was already in that age, understood that. He was about 7, almost 7 years old. And I remember like I say, "Hey Gabriel, what happened you today?" And I was driving. He was in a car seat. He was in a car seat in the back. And I was like, "You were training with Caio, and now Caio is better than you, like doing better than you, blah, 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 blah." Then he's like, "Dad," I was like, "What?" He's like, "I'm not Caio." And I was like, okay. And I understood it. Told me like that, "I'm Gabriel, I'm not Caio. Caio's got better. I did. He have his time, I have mine." So I understood right on it at that moment. I almost parked my car and just jumped. It's like I was like, okay, I got it. So I learn a lot more. Like I tell people all the time, like I learn a lot more from him than he learns from me on those conversations. Come home, talking about the training, the improvement, what he likes. I watch. I don't usually criticize on a class only if it's really bad. If I see him as sloppy on training, I would tell him, I'd say, "Hey, you would improve better if you didn't roll that roll. It was why you roll. If you not in a roll, if you're not committing to, put everything you can on that roll, don't roll like that next time because you wasting your time." And he's like, "Okay, Dad." Then he goes and improve. Like we're very honest to each other. Um, I promise him like after winning or losing, I just after he comes out the mat, I go give him a hug. We talk about the mats later. That moment, like I just want to be his dad. I don't want to be his coach because sometimes, it's hard and sometimes you're so devastated that you lost. Then you just want to hug. You don't want to at least say anything about it. Like Pans the past year, he he had a concussion 3 days before the tournament, and he decided to compete. So he didn't perform at all. Like his opponent like did whatever he want with him, and he walked out the mat like devastated. Just give him a hug, and I was like, "Hey, dude, I just want you back. Relax." Um, and then I remember after that he went to Brazil. Then he is like, and he got caught in one position. He made a mistake, and at that moment he came back to me, tried to give me a hug, and at that moment I kind of like I knew he needed a coach and not like a dad, and I was like, "Stop! Why you let that happen?" But he's like, "But Dad," and I was like, "No, no, 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 no. I need to make that correction now. Why?" Then he's like, he got real upset at me. And he told me later, he's like, "That they just need a hug in that moment." And I was like, "I know, Gabe, but that day you made a technical mistake. I need to tell you that because you worked so hard for this. We worked together, like we worked so hard. We put so much time on it, and you made a mistake." Then he realized later. We got kind of like really stressed out in that moment. He did, I did. Then later on, I'm like, "Hey man, I'm sorry, but I felt that I need to say that to you at that moment." And he's like, "Yeah, I know, I got it. I'm sorry, blah blah blah." Then like 30 minutes later, we were already like eating coxinha, like Brazil, that's Brazilian food, like eating coxinha, drink guaraná, and just go, that's it. You know what I mean? That's the good thing about us. Like we just move on. And again, like I say, we will answer your question. It's like I think it's everybody's my mentor. Like, other thing happened too. He went to uh I think it was Pans no Gi.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Pans no Gi right after Brazilian Ash. No, Brazilian Nationals right after Pans. Then I remember talking to one of my good friends that his son is good friends with Gabriel, and I call him and he's like, "Man, I saw Gabriel competing, like, man, he looked good." And I was like, "Man, I'm so mad he kind of like let the guy car him on that hard, blah blah blah," and the referee stopped the match. Then and the guy was just listening when I stopped talking. Then he's like, "Remember, it was right after the Pans. He had the concussion. 3 days later, he didn't perform. He was totally out, like kind of like drunk. Then 3 months later, he competed at Brazilian Nationals, totally different performance, lost, but totally different performance. Then the guy replied to me, "I'm just happy that he's back." And I was like, "Thank you for it." I didn't see that. I was so focused on the mistake, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
You know, other thing happened recently. It was at Pans no gi. Then he was losing 2-0. With 20 seconds left, and he jumped to try to do something that he does in the gym work pretty well, but didn't work at that tournament. And he got his back take. The kid choke him. I was like, on my head, I was like, why did you do that? Right. And then I called him FaceTime and he was super happy with his performance. He was like, Dad, I lost. I'm sorry. But I was like, no, don't be sorry. But on my head, I was like, why you try to do something like high risk in the end, right? I didn't see the big picture. And he's like, yeah, but I'm happy. I did my best. Then I watched the whole match. I was like, oh, yeah, cool. So then I call a friend of mine that is, Samir Chantre, world champion, high level black belt. And I was talking to Samir, oh, man, I watched some of highlights of Gabriel's fights. Like, man, that's crazy. Like, um, and I was like, yeah, that was like 20 seconds left on the mat. Then then Samir told, he's like, man, Gabriel has such a old maturity. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, dude, I know 90% of the black belts will not take that risk at 20 seconds left to lose that match that way. They will fight to not lose by submission or to lose on ref decision, but they will not take the risk. And he's like 15 years old. He had the maturity to fight till the last minute. Then I was like, man, I didn't thought that way. Then you know what I mean? Then we start talking and we're like, yeah, I did that many times. Then he's like, yeah, me too. So, dude, like that's awesome. And yeah, so man, like I learned from everybody. Is like I'm still like a sponge, like every time I talk to someone, I try to absorb. And I think because I start teaching and I start working with jiu-jitsu so young at 16, and like I didn't have time to go to school to learn to improve everything. And I'm still in a process of learning. Now I'm learning from him more than I learned from anybody else.
And it's funny, Gabriel, like even last night, but this happens basically every time you're there. Of course, we talk about you on the side, but even when he's coaching, this happened last night. He showed a technique. And then toward the end, he was like, well, actually, Gabriel does it a little differently. I didn't teach him that, but he does it like this and he does it this way. It's really successful for him. And I asked him about it, but like he sees how you take things and make it your own and almost find ways to teach yourself within the techniques that you're learning from your mentor and your father, and of course, your other coaches. And one of the many things I love about both of you is just how willing you are to share some of these personal moments that you have, both as son and father, but also athlete and coach, and how you can switch those roles, reflect back on them for ways that maybe you wish you could have been better, but other times that you're happy you did it that way. And you just shared many stories, VJ, of both sides of that coin. And that's just so cool because it's the same way that you answered. You have this endless curiosity of self-improvement as an athlete, as a coach, as a father. Like even though someone in your shoes could easily say they have it all figured out, you have nothing to prove when it comes to being a coach or an athlete. If you were to have that kind of ego, you've reached the perspective summit if you believe in that. I don't. There is no summit. You keep going forever, and that comes from curiosity. And you see that in how you interact with people and how you're sharing these stories right now. And it's just so cool. And speaking of making things your own, I usually suck at remembering quotes, but there is
No,
one
you're
Bruce
not.
Lee
You're
quote.
pretty good. Don't sell yourself short. The people that watch and listen to this would think like Kyle is not good at jiu-jitsu. It's pretty good. It's pretty
They
good. We're just
people that
better,
look.
Kyle.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm good at summarizing things. I'm not good at saying quotes verbatim, and now I'll probably screw up the quote verbatim. But a Bruce Lee quote that I do love and I say quite a bit is he would say, absorb what is useful, discard what is not, and then add what is uniquely your own. I'm curious, Gabriel. Obviously, you've absorbed tons of wisdom from your father. And we talk about mentality, approaches to competition, approaches to life. And I have more questions related to some of the approaches for life in a little bit. Um, I'm curious, what are like the main lessons you've absorbed from him? Maybe some that you discarded, or maybe like that you think he'd want you to even do different. And then what do you think you've kind of made uniquely your own, whether that's jujitsu or even aside from the mats? Hard
Like,
question, I know.
I just cart everything. Nothing
Definitely
is
not.
useful.
So
Yeah, he always put a bad word in the middle of something. It's definitely his discard that once.
I mean, I'd say there's definitely over the years I'd be rolling and I'd make a technical mistake in a roll, and he'd like, let's say it was something with like turtling and trying to like, instead of just going for turtle, try to go more towards the guard. He'd say, hey, like, do this. You should move more like this. If you do like that, you're gonna get your back taken. I'm like, okay. And then younger, I didn't like kind of either both remember it or didn't want to remember it in a way. But then like it happened again. He'd say, hey, do this. And then more recently in like the past year and so, then I'd start to hear that again and I'd be in that position to roll. It's like, yeah, that would help. Yeah. In that way.
No, it makes sense. Finally.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd say, I mean, there's definitely been moments between us as both a coach and a competitor and a father and son in tournaments that we both want to forget in some ways, but it's also so important that we had those moments. Like he mentioned the Orlando moment at the Orlando Open. I froze in that match. I don't know why. I don't know where that came from. That happened, but I just went there and I couldn't perform at the way I knew I could in a match I probably could have won. And then that was a really bad moment. I was like really upset. I was really sad, and he had a reaction I wasn't expecting to go back to, even at Brazilian Nationals that he mentioned in the Nogi. I had a really good match. I was actually winning the match, and he caught me in like an arm settle, and then started to go for a way where I could have just pulled my arm out, but not being used to Nogi, I didn't really realize that, and he got me in a submission eventually. The ref ended up stopping for me, and I walked off the mat. I had initially felt, because it was right after that Pants concussion match, I was, yeah, that was a better match. I did what I knew, I did what I could, I went right to him, and then I had a reaction from that I also wasn't expecting. I was like, I didn't know, and I walked off. I tried to have my own time, and there's just some moments that we've learned this is how we need to communicate with each other, this is how we shouldn't communicate with each other. Um, Definitely there's like tournaments when it's just us or when my mom's there, when there's more people from the team there, like we know, like he'll go to me, hey, do you need anything? No, I just want to be here to focus on the match. Then he's okay. Then he does whatever he needs to. He leaves me be. Hey, do you want to warm up? No, yes, okay, I'll help you. No, then okay, do what you need to do before the match. Hey, we usually there'll be like honey or like a hydrate or water or something before the match. Here, need this. If let's say there's a 3-man division, I'm the number 1 seed, and he gets to watch the match before, we'll say, hey, the kid you're gonna fight, he's more aggressive. He goes for takedown, for example. Then I can listen to him. Okay, cool. Go there, be able to be ready for that. So yeah.
I like how you guys are willing to reflect on these hard moments so much. Personally, of course, you're sharing
Mhm.
some of the stories now, but it, I know I've experienced it in my younger years, and I've been guilty of it myself too. Like we make mistakes perceptually. There's uncomfortable moments. Brush them under the rug. Act like they never happened. Just move forward. It's all fine. Like, again, setbacks can be opportunities. those challenging moments, and maybe you also just made the wrong assumption about where either one was coming from. Like, you were wearing your coach hat or your dad hat for a very particular reason right now, or maybe there's repair that could happen so you could course correct better next time that it comes up. But you're never going to figure that out unless you're willing to go back to those moments and talk through it. And the fact that you two clearly do that in relation to jiu-jitsu and in relation to life shows how strong your bond is and why you both are uniquely, individually, but more importantly, collectively great together and how you operate. And that requires being willing to embrace the struggle and the hard parts. And I think that's such an opportunity for so many people. It's very cool that you're willing not only to do it, but then share it with people too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's definitely something people need to hear too. Is because some people don't know what they need to do. Some people don't know what kind of things they should do before the match with their kid or with their coach or with their parent or with their student, and then just being able to help here. This is how we've been able to work through this. Maybe you can find your own way, because of course everyone, just like preparing for a match, just like anyone's jiu-jitsu game, everyone has a different way of doing it. So our way of how we communicate on a match day, on at the gym, out of the gym, at home, and the travel wherever, is different from how other people do it, whether successfully or not. But
Mhm.
yeah.
And what's so funny is what you're saying right now. There's so much people can absorb to improve themselves in the relationships they have with their mentors, their father, their spouse, you name it. But also, you're emphasizing, but make it uniquely your own. Their relationship's not going to be your guys' relationship, so you can't don't emulate it to a T. But
Yeah.
think about what makes sense and then apply it to your unique situation. Well put, Gabe.
Yeah, I think like the biggest problem in humanity is the assumption, right? Like we always the expectation, right? Like we expect people to act in one way, and that's one thing I think probably I struggle a lot, like with my family, like my parents, and then I don't want that with my kid and my wife, and it just kind of like when things like that happen, and he knows that because like sometimes I'm even annoying. I don't like to leave for the next day. I would just like call him right away and say, "Hey Gabe, we need to talk about this." Then we're like, "Hey, I'm sorry. Why you upset? What's going on? Tell me." That's the same thing with my wife. When I see like we're not happy with something, we're like, "Okay, let's go talk. I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this." And we try to solve the problem right away. Like I always like say, we're not perfect. We're not trying to be perfect. We just try to live in harmony. You know what I mean? I think that's the best way to put it. So every time we have those issues, like, okay, let's talk. Boom. All right, move on. Ice cream, movie, let's go.
I like it. And actually, it leads right into a question I really want to ask you, Vicente, but I'm going to start pumping Gabe's tires a little bit. You actually, Gabriel, you're 3 years older than my nephew, but you remind me a lot of him. Not only you guys kind of look alike, but so my nephew, he's a three-sport athlete. He's a pitcher, he's a quarterback, and he plays every position in basketball. And he's the man in all three sports. At 12 years old, he's already getting looked at,
Yeah, that's
doing the
cool.
AU teams. And I don't know what sport he'll do. Maybe he won't do any of them. He'll find something else he loves, but he's that dude. Yet, whether it's in relation to being a mentor to his younger cousins, his friends, how he interacts with adults, you could not see more respect, humble character, and just a genuinely good kid in my nephew. And that is so true of you and what I know of you. And of course, what I learned from your father and from your teammates. You're just a good human being. You kick ass in school. I believe your GPA is 4.4, nuts on top of everything that you do on top of it. You've worked on the side, and you stay involved, as you mentioned at the beginning of the conversation, trying to transcend your experience to help other people. My question is actually for VJ, but you can definitely speak to it a little bit if you want to too. What you've learned from it this way, when you're already you have fame in jujitsu without question, you have fame already, Gabriel, and with VJ, even more so. Again, BJJ hero, legend in many ways in the respective accomplishments that you've had and continue to do. You are already one of the greats. But what I admire about you is you're a good man. You just spoke to the relationship that you have with your wife. You speak about Gabriel all the time, and just as a human being, you don't carry this ego where you're bragging about your accomplishments. You're just there to make people better. You're a good man while being great in this craft. What has that been like for you? That challenge, because this is not what I've seen a common thing. Individuals who are extraordinary in their craft, great, maybe compromise character and being good. And the ability to be good while becoming great is an admirable trait. And how have you approached being able to do that throughout your life and clearly transcending that onto your son?
I don't know. I think the way I approach that I don't see myself that way in any form and shape. Then the curiosity to learn more and try to become better, to be a better father, a better instructor, like I try to improve my class every time I can. You guys see, like when I was teaching, I always answer a question with another question is like, why? Then if you sometimes you guys look confused to me, and I was like, it's not because I want to being sarcastic. It's because I want to use you have the answer, but you want me to answer for you. And they were like, what? Then I was like, do it again. You know what I mean? It's like I always try to uh stimulate that curiosity on others, even though like I was very annoyed with people asking me questions in class. And I learned over the years when I moved to states that I just loved when people make asking questions, um because I realize it makes me better, because sometimes I don't know the answer and I need to think about it. Then I'm made up, kind of like made up on a spot. No, I was like, oh, I didn't know I was doing this. You know what I mean? The I don't know. I think that's over the years, just the curiosity and like try to chase perfection. Not perfection, but just be a better husband, be a better father, be a good father. You know what I mean? That's the trying to become immortal, you know what I mean? Like, so people will remember, like, I will help the next generation, And I think that's the best answer I can give to you.
And that word that you came back to, curiosity, I mean, you couldn't put it better because if you were certain that you were a good dad, you were certain you're a good husband, you were certain you're one of the greatest BJJ athletes of all time, that now these questions don't matter. It's because I said so. I got to figure it out. You listen to me, and that's why. And you never come at it that way. You do ask why back so you can see our perspective, so you can answer the question in maybe the ways that we're asking it that we didn't fully articulate. That curiosity will keep you trying to achieve your best in all of these domains that matter to you. I love that answer. So staying curious throughout the lifespan, we'll never have it all figured out. You can get better. You can reach these levels that I talked about earlier on the mats as a father, as a husband, as a man. But man, there's always opportunity to improve more. Gabriel, anything else that you would add to the compliments that I gave you that are more than deserved and genuine? What have you learned from your father about managing not only success on the mats, but just managing life as a developing man, as a coach, and as a contributor to this world?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely not just learned this from him. I've learned it from my mom. I've learned it from all my friends, like just about anyone I've met. In a way of respect, is come from a lot of different ways. I mentioned before that I've learned it from jujitsu, especially too, as it being a martial art. I've learned it being a Catholic through like all the stuff I've learned in church. I've learned it through all the stuff at school, through the teachers. I've seen people not be as respectful, as humble in a way, and I just think I don't want to be like that. To me, I just want to be the best person I can be. I want to be the best person I can be for others and help others to be the best person that they can be, and whether and I've mentioned this before, like whether I win or lose a tournament, to me it's a learning experience. If I win, it's awesome. I enjoy that moment. If I lose, sucks. I'm gonna hate that moment for a little bit, but I'll understand, so everything happens for a reason, and yeah, I mean, just every from him I've learned on the mats, even if there's a mistake that he makes at some point, if there's a mistake that my mom makes, if there's a mistake anyone makes, especially me, learn not to do that, learn to do better from it, learn to, if there's anything that someone does right and learn from that, you should go towards that way. you know? So, I mean, that's what I've learned, so.
I like that. I mean, because again, setbacks or mistakes, they're inevitable to happen, but they're not failures unless you don't try to learn from them. If you keep making the same mistake over and over, that's a failure. And something my dad told me when I was younger that stuck with me, you basically just said the same thing. Like, it's great to learn from your own mistakes, do that. But if you can start learning from the mistakes of others, you're going to efficiently try to orient yourself within the world a little bit better so you can find what is the right path for you. And you do have to learn from your own ways. First, there's consequences to all of our actions, but you can see consequences to other people's actions. You can know how I don't want to be that kind of leader. I don't want to be that kind of coach. I want to try to be a little bit better in that way. And that's the goal, to always try to get a little bit better.
Yeah. One thing, if I may add, I was something that when Gabriel it was growing up and he was going to tournaments, and this is happening in a lot of tournaments, and hopefully, if some parents are listening to that, at some point they will learn from it. I did that not as a experiment, but it was something that I believed. And then later on, I saw like few days ago, I was sent to you later so you can watch that, a podcast with Jocko, and he was like talking about like his daughter and how Hannah started jiu-jitsu and all the mistakes he did. And he advised the parents to not do it because that pushed her like away from jiu-jitsu. She's back now. She's badass, like winning a lot of
Shit.
stuff now, but she got off jiu-jitsu because of those mistakes. And it was funny because it was the mistakes that I didn't do, and all the parents on the gym didn't listen to me. It was like pushing against me, which was I never put Gabriel to compete in a division above his belt. I always want him put compete on his belt. The parents always like, oh, I want to put my kid to go in the higher ranks, and I like I always make the joke say that, oh, this is kind of like a shot in the dark. If you hit it, great, you celebrate, you're the best shooter in the world. If you miss it, oh, I miss it because it was in the dark. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like that win or excuse, and you build that habit. And so I didn't want to do that. And like Gabriel had a lot lack of competition because of it. And they always like, oh, you keep picking. I was like, no, imagine like it's your child, he wants to have fun in a mat. Then you put him against a kid that higher rank, more skill, then maybe the kid is higher rank, but he's not that good. Then your kid go there and win, but most likely he will get smashed, and that will traumatize your kid. And if you want him to do martial arts for fun, you defeat the whole purpose. This is not being fun. He's being manhandled for another kid that is older, that is higher rank, and etc. The other thing I never did was constellation match. So every time you go to a local tournament, people pay, and I know it's expensive, but they like to do the constellation match if they lose first round. So Gabriel, I never let him do constellation match. I told him, this is your mistake, own it, move on, go home, let's go train more. Your consolation is that you learn from it. Go back to the gym, learn from it. Because if I keep giving him a second chance, he might not have that second chance in a relationship if he fails. All. He might not have that second chance if he go above the speed limit and if he got in a car accident. He will not have that second chance if he made a mistake in a job. So why I will create a habit. Oh, I lost the first round. Let me do it again. It's not a video game. It's a game over. Move on, learn from it, go forward. And I think that small lessons as he's growing up helped shape who he is right now.
VJ, I've obviously taken a lot of notes from your classes, techniques, things that I want to remember, come back to and drill and think about how to incorporate into my game. I've also taken notes from some of our conversations, things that you've said about parenting and life. And I'll bring up one of those quotes in a moment. But both of those examples and your reasons behind them of not going up in weight classes because of, you mentioned it's a win win, but really it's a lose lose because if you get smashed and then you get like disgruntled and don't want to compete anymore because it's just so humiliating, or you have all those excuses built in for anything. And sure, if you win, then you get this like falsified belief in beating somebody who probably didn't deserve to be in that belt in the first. So it's a bunch of loses, but you frame it as a win-win. Remove the excuses. When you're competing, compete for real. That's where training is. When you can train with bigger people, you can train with higher belts, and you can learn there, and then you can learn that and deal with that. Love that. And then the consolation match. Your your consolation is learning. And so when you come to compete and using it in that way, powerful stuff. A note that I have in my phone that my kids do not have a smartphone yet. They're too young for that. That's coming one day. You might already know where I'm going if you remember when you told me this, but you told Gabriel. I can't remember if it was in response to something happening in school or when he got his smartphone, but you held a pistol and you held a cell phone and you asked him, tell me the difference between these two things when you use them. And I might be misquoting you because, again, I suck with quotes, but you said, there is no difference when it comes to how you squeeze the trigger or press send, because once you do it, you can't reverse that action. This cell phone can be just as dangerous to your life as using a pistol when you were able to, when you don't understand the safety and the consequences of your actions and how you use them. Because, by the way, not only do you have all these amazing accomplishments in jiu-jitsu, you're also a firearms instructor and you've dove into that. And it's amazing taking those classes with you and how quickly you would become exceptional in that field. But I love the analogy that you applied in today's day and age with social media and with just smartphones in general. We send a text message. That's it. That's in the ether forever. You can try to delete the message. No, that's out there. And if you sent it without thinking about your actions before you executed, it can have detrimental consequences to your life forever. We just live in that time. So how you frame these, what some people might think is a no big deal situation, to show the severity of it, to teach discipline in your actions for children. It's empowering stuff, man. Thank you for sharing those stories and for that quote that I took down right away.
No, you actually make the quote better. I don't think I did in with this perfect English, but yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like sometimes I have to made up thinking it's on a spot. My wife sometimes is more restricted than I am, and I remember he had some issues with like friends group text at school, and we went over like we talked to him about it, and my wife took his phone away. And I told her, I was like, no, don't take the phone away. I thought Gabriel since younger age, like when we started having conversations, like, like, and I know he couldn't understand. I tried to teach him about decisions and consequences, right? Like every day you wake up, you have a decision, and that decision will have a consequence. Can be good, can be bad. You know what I mean? It's a consequence from every action we take, right? And I always tell him like, "Hey, pick this, right? And we will have a consequence, right? Like we're gonna eat ice cream. What's the consequence? We might get fat, we might not. Well, let's go eat ice cream. We might be lactose tolerant, might not. So everything has a consequence." And I told her to say no, give me the phone, I'm gonna give the phone to him. Then she's like, no, no. Then I was like, I'm gonna give you the phone to him. Do you trust me? And this is another deal like her and I have. We always support each other even if each other is wrong, but then we go in a room and talk about it. It's like, hey, you kind of like messed up there, then let's go try it, man. But I never tell in front of him wrong, like blah blah blah. You know what I mean? Like we want him have the like full trust or full absorb everything that her and I talk. Tell him and asking her, "Do you trust me?" Then she's like, "Yeah." Then I was like, I came to the room and I told him, and say, "Hey, Gabe, like exactly what you say." He's like, "Do you remember when I taught you about the safeties and everything?" Then he's like, "Yeah." Then I was like, "Can you open for me?" Then he opened the box. It was there, the firearm. Then I was like, Do you know the difference between your cell phone and your firearm? And he's like, no. He's like, no difference. When you squeeze the trigger or hit send it might kill someone, it might not. And like, you gotta be careful when you send someone a message and say something mean to a person. You don't know how they feel. Just be careful. You know what I mean? If you want to say something, say in their face, but don't send a text message. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like be responsible about that thing. So that was like that was responsibility, you know what I mean? And I say, and that message or that trigger squeeze is gonna have a consequence, so that's the stuff like I made up in a spot, and I was like, it became like a really good lesson for him, even a good lesson for me, and a really good story to tell people. And some people like will be shocked with the comparison, but it is true. It is true. Like nowadays, like with social media, there's no difference. People like, oh, gun control. Do you really think like send a message and squeeze the trigger is any different dangers? It's the same thing. And we can see today the power of social media. It's being destroying nations.
Absolutely. It's such a powerful analogy because, like you said, it is true. Because you start unpacking it and you give the examples that you gave. Absolutely. You're using a firearm safely, shooting targets or for your own self defense, and it never comes out of the holster, but it's there in case you need it. But then you're using a cell phone irresponsibly. And whether it's for yourself and binging on social media, or, of course, attacking other people for no reason who might be in a bad place without considering their situation, without question, you could do more damage with a cell phone than responsible use of a firearm. So I love the analogy because it shows the power of both if you're using them irresponsibly and not understand the consequence to your action. And another thing I really appreciate in both of you, VJ, you bring up your wife and how you guys are a team. And Gabriel, you brought up your mom several times. I'm having this conversation talking about father son duos, but of course, both of you are enhanced by the great woman that's behind you and with you. And it's so important to remember that. And of course, family situations are different, but when you can have that core unit and two parents that love each other, that come from the same front, even if one might disagree behind closed doors and figure it out, you see the importance of teams and how they operate, and that's only going to help you better. And so I appreciate you both bringing that up because I couldn't agree more. My wife and I, VJ, in the way that you described, try to really do the same thing. We are united when we are speaking with the kids, and we can talk it out behind closed doors if we're not on the same page. And we've gotten much better about that as the kids have gotten older, as far as how we disagree and problem solve when maybe we're not on the same page. And it's such an opportunity.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I say, I try to help the parents with the kids, and I tell them all the time, I don't have the blueprint. I'm not perfect. It's you gotta do your best every day. I'm learning as much as he learning, but um, like you gotta like again be curious about it. You know what I mean? Okay, let's do this. And if you made it wrong, learn from your mistake, apologize, move on. Right? Like, don't use like apologies as an excuse. It's two different things. It's like apologize, like, hey, I'm sorry, it was my bad. I made a mistake. Let's move on. Let's do that in a different way. I think that's the biggest different. Like, and Anna, it's definitely the glue of this family. Like she's the reason I'm here. She's the reason like we do. She's a big supporter. She doesn't do jiu-jitsu. She doesn't like it, but she supports. She like she's our psychologist. She's always talked to us. Like sometimes she's funny. Like we travel with her that we now it's better because now we have someone that we can bug the whole trip. We make fun her of a whole trip. It's great.
I love it. And I also like what you said about repair with apologizing. Apologies don't mean shit if you just keep doing the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
But when you apologize, you own it and you move forward by trying to figure out how you can do a little bit better next time and putting forth effort there. Just like the mats. You make a mistake, own it, and do your best to not let it happen again to get a little bit better from it. I have one more question. I've had you guys for an hour and a half, and I know we need to get good sleep a week out from a big tournament that I can't wait to hear about and hopefully see you soon, Gabriel. My question's for you, and it's actually unrelated to jiu-jitsu. You're obviously a student athlete. You do well in school. You're probably interested in certain classes more than others. But I'm just interested in what your interests are off the mat. I know one of your main passions in life is jujitsu, but I'm curious at this point in your life, what are some of your other interests?
Yeah, I mean, since 2022, actually, since like my first international trip, I've been getting really into soccer, football, wherever in the world you want to call it. But I've been following a team from England, Manchester City. So
Right.
whenever they have a game, I'll watch it. They actually just played today. I don't want to talk about the results; it's pretty bad. um, but yeah, I do watch them when they're playing. I follow up on them. Some trips too. I've been able to watch different teams play. When I went to Paris, I watched the local team there, PSG, play a different team. When we went to Rio, we saw a derby game between two teams from Rio, which was really cool. So I don't know if I'll ever play it. I'm just more following it for now. I'm having fun watching it most times.
And
But
the endurance
yeah,
those guys need. I played soccer a little bit,
yeah,
but like, yeah, you think about every sport requires a particular adaptation. Soccer players, man, the amount of ground that they cover at a high perceived exertion
yeah,
rate, it is a very impressive sport when you start looking into it. Strategically, how they play, such a cool sport.
yeah, yeah.
What are some of your favorite classes?
Um, I really like math. I really Yeah, math is my favorite. Um, depends on the teacher, depends on the way it's taught. I like the English classes too. I This semester in at school, the way my school operates, I have like an 4 semester, like a 4 class per semester. So I have 8 classes in a year, but I have 4 different ones per half of the year. So I just finished up my exams like the past couple days actually. And then this semester I had strength training. So I've been able to start getting back into like lifting weights too. So that's been pretty cool too. So then just even like in like activities that I've been enjoying, going to the high school football games, watching the team this season. They did pretty well. They made the My high school team made the playoffs, so that was pretty big. Especially the season before, they didn't win a single game, and then they actually beat a bunch of big schools this year. So that was fun. And some days after school, when I have time, I'll be able to hang out with friends downtown because my school's in downtown Annapolis. So a lot of the kids after school, they'll go downtown, just hang out and chill and do whatever else. So then sometimes I'll be able to go hang out too. So
I have many reasons to get up to Annapolis, but my number one is to come check out the new gym, to train with you, Gabriel, not only on the mats, but I'd love to get some strength training in or whatever kind of training you do these days to prepare for competitions. It's been too long, but man, has this been an honor talking to both of you tonight. Every time I get to interact with you on and off the mats, I'm better for it. And now many other people can be better for it too, from your guys' wisdom, from the stories you're willing to share. I appreciate you guys tremendously, and good luck next weekend. I can't wait till I see you next.
yeah, thank you so
Yeah.
much. Yeah. I mean, definitely we're gonna sleep soon, train tomorrow, and big match day. So that'll be my first one as a blue belt, my first big tournament as a blue belt, new age. So I'm definitely very excited for that. I'll make sure to keep you posted. And so yeah, I'm definitely excited to see where else everything goes. So thank you for having us. It's been great talking to you. So
I'm excited for you, brother. VJ,
Yeah.
thank you.
That was
thank you.
cool, Kyle. Thank you so much. Appreciate. Hopefully everybody understand me speaking. Let's yeah, that was cool. Like thanks for giving us the opportunity to talk a little bit about our lives and share with your audience like our story. That's cool. And I'm here waiting for your visit. I would love to have you at our new house and drink some coffee with me. Are you a coffee drinker?
Oh, yeah.
You drink? Yeah.
Sounds
So
fantastic.
yeah,
Coffee, new house, new gym. Yeah.
yeah.
We're gonna
We'll
make that
make you a
happen soon.
latte.
Yeah, it sounds fantastic. Have a great time in Portugal. We'll talk soon, guys. This was an honor.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Yeah.
you.
Honor is mine. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
All right, guys. Holy shit. Can you hear me still?